This morning, a massive fire severely damaged the home of an NBA coach. And a deal with pharmaceutical companies that could put popular weight loss drugs within reach for millions of Americans.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. Happy Friday to you, Mountain family. I'm Amelia Lee here with you on this November 7th. We are just about at 5 o'clock this morning and, of course, ready for a check of our weather with meteorologist Alexa Minton. Alexa, what's going on today?
We have got a first alert weather day today because of a couple reasons, and it's going to last all the way through our Monday. Now, today we are starting off with, of course, an active rounds of storms coming in the second half of your forecast. It eventually is going to shift into snowflake chances by our Monday forecast. So those strong storms are rolling in the second half of our day. We stay calm for our Saturday, but by the time we're talking towards our Sunday night into Monday, we're looking at flake chances for our region, and it feels like the teens on Monday. So today, one thing we're noticing, those temperatures not too bad. Don't be fooled by the 70s you're going to see in the upper 60s. It feels good for the first half of the day when you step outside, but as those thunderstorms roll towards your skies, things are going to pack a punch. Again, second half of the day is when we're going to expect that activity. I'll walk you through your full forecast and tell you a little bit more about those incoming storms in just a few more moments.
Thanks, Alexa. A massive fire severely damaged the home of an NBA coach. Officials say more than 20 units were dispatched to the home of Miami Heat coach Erik Spoelstra in what became a futile effort to save his property. Officials say the home was not occupied when the blaze broke out at around 4:30 yesterday morning. He and the team did not return to Miami until a little after 5 o'clock after their trip to Denver. An investigation is underway into what caused that fire. Well, we're learning more about the death of an NFL player. Police in a Dallas suburb say 24-year-old Dallas Cowboys player Marshawn Kneeland was found dead of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound after evading authorities in his vehicle and fleeing the scene of an accident on foot. Authorities had initially lost sight of the vehicle before locating it minutes later. During the search after Kneeland fled, officers received word that Kneeland had shown suicidal ideations. Well, the death toll from the Louisville, Kentucky UPS cargo plane crash has risen to 13. Today, new questions about what might have led up to the crash, with federal government records showing the plane had recently undergone maintenance. In a statement, GE Aerospace, the company behind the plane's engines, said safety is our first priority and we're supporting the NTSB's investigation.
We will look at every piece of maintenance that was done.
There's so much charred, mangled metal that not all of the bodies may have been located until you look underneath certain things.
For those living in the impact zone, tests showed no significant health hazards in the air, shrinking the shelter-in-place order to just a quarter mile. The NTSB says there's no reason to take any immediate safety actions against other planes of this type that are currently in service. At least 13 people are dead following Tuesday's plane crash in Louisville. Many there are still in shock in the wake of the crash. A couple of women who work at and own Strugel's Bar and Grill, which is located less than a mile from the UPS Worldport and Muhammad Ali Airport, talked about their experiences. One video showed a wall of flames towering over the restaurant moments after the crash. Debbie Self, the owner of Stooges Bar and Grill, says she was not at the restaurant when it happened, but was nearby.
I got to Miners Lane, which is maybe 2 blocks, and the police turned us away. I couldn't get to my business.
Self says while she's not allowed on her own property, she says she's been allowed near it since the crash. She says it's remarkable the building itself was not damaged, but the nearby damage resulted in the business being closed and more than 40 employees without jobs. Some folks are stepping up to help people that they don't know in the wake of the tragedy. A pilot in the southern Indiana area learned just how quickly people were willing to give. Cindy Martin's fund drive has already raised hundreds of dollars for first responders and air traffic controllers. She says many air traffic controllers and first responders are running on little food and sleep.
Yeah, I mean, it's already such a high stress job for them. So it's unfortunate that on top of, keeping everybody safe, it's such a high stress job, they're also not getting paid to do so.
Martin's initial goal was to raise more than $1,000. That ended up changing to $4,000, with more than half of that already being met. Well, the UPS cargo plane crash is being compared to one of the deadliest crashes in U.S. history. In 1979, American Airlines Flight 191 crashed just after takeoff from Chicago's O'Hare Airport, killing 273 people. Dr. Tim Holtz, chair of the School of Aviation at Eastern Kentucky University, says he teaches about that crash as a case study and understands why many are drawing parallels to this week's UPS incident.
The American Airlines flight was a DC-10. This being an MD-11 was a similar design, similar characteristics. So as aircraft are, built in futurity, it shared a lot of the same characteristics, both physical as well as internal.
Holt says investigators will be looking at whether a similar mechanical failure could have led to the UPS plane crash. Today, flight reductions at the nation's 40 busiest airports take effect, sparking new frustrations for passengers. The move is due to air traffic control shortages brought on by the longest federal shutdown in U.S. history. There's some optimism on Capitol Hill that a key procedural vote on a funding bill could be a path towards reopening the government. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is lashing out at a judge's order to pay full food assistance benefits, the vice president calling it absurd. CBS's Jared Hill has more from New York.
Anxiety and delays growing at airports nationwide.
I'm like, am I gonna get to my destination? Am I gonna make it back from my destination?
Starting today, airlines are scrambling to cut hundreds, if not thousands of flights a day to hit the FAA's target of gradually reducing air traffic at 40 of the nation's biggest airports by next week.
I'm kind of making contingency plans to drive the whole way if I need to.
The goal, alleviate pressures due to a surge in sick calls from air traffic controllers working without pay because of the federal government shutdown.
They're worried about putting gas in their car. They're worried about putting food on the table. As that risk increases, you have to begin reducing the capacity of the system.
Today, new hope of some relief for the 42 million Americans getting SNAP food aid. Thursday, a judge ordered the Trump administration to fully fund SNAP after it said it would only provide partial funding.
Let's give dollars back to families to be able to buy food again to feed their kids.
The Trump administration says it plans to appeal.
In the midst of a shutdown, we can't have a federal court telling the president how he has to triage the situation.
As the shutdown hits day 38, today the Senate could try a slightly different tactic to entice moderate Democrats, voting on the House funding bill with the goal of amending it. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Well, there's some evidence that many travelers are choosing to hit the road as airlines reduce flights over the next few days. Car rental company Hertz says its one-way rental reservations have spiked more than 20% through this weekend. The shutdown is also straining resources at airports. TSA and air traffic controllers continue to work without pay during the shutdown, and last week missed their full paychecks. Lexington priest Father Jim Schicko tried to help airport workers at Bluegrass Airport yesterday by delivering breakfast and lunch. Well, many Kentuckians are looking at ways to fight hunger after the uncertainty surrounding SNAP benefits. During Wednesday's Team Kentucky briefing, Governor Andy Beshear announced that the National Guard would assist in staffing food banks as needed. Beshear joined 24 other states as well as the District of Columbia in challenging the Trump administration regarding the decision to suspend SNAP.
Let me be clear. The president has both the funding and the authority to fund SNAP during a shutdown. In fact, every other president in every other shutdown has done so.
During his briefing, the governor also recognized Martha Lane Collins. The former governor died last week at 88 and is the only woman governor Kentucky has had so far. The federal government shutdown has reached its 38th day. Senators resumed talks yesterday, which are aimed at resolving the shutdown. Senate Majority Leader John Thune says Republicans are waiting to hear from Democrats regarding a GOP proposal to end the stalemate. One Democrat says reversing some of the Trump administration's mass firings of federal employees has been discussed. President Trump announced a deal with pharmaceutical companies that could put popular weight loss drugs within reach for millions of Americans. President Trump said for people paying directly for Wegovy or Zepbound, the average price will drop to about $350 for a 1-month supply, eventually going down to $245. Coverage will also expand to Medicare patients. The CDC says more than 100 million adults in the U.S. are obese.
Drastic discounts are very effective drugs, and so far I've never heard anything bad about them. I only hear good about them.
Folks need to be able to utilize these life-saving medications, and being fair about its distribution is essential.
The drugs will be available over the administration's new website, TrumpRx, starting next year. The lowest price of $150 a month will be available only for the lowest doses of the pill form of the drugs if they're FDA approved. The former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has announced that she will not seek re-election for another term in Congress. It would end her nearly 4 decades in Washington. The 85-year-old Congresswoman expressed gratitude and pride for her years representing her constituents in San Francisco. Pelosi was first elected in Congress in 1987. 20 years later, she made history when she became the first ever female House Speaker. She remains the only woman to have held that position. Well, thank you so much for getting your day started with us on Mountain News this morning at 5:10. Coming up.